Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Shetal. I'm the customer marketing lead at Culture Amp. I am responsible for looking after our expansion marketing efforts. So really running campaigns targeted to our customer base, cross-sell, upsell campaigns, also account-based marketing for customers as well. I've been at Culture Amp for coming up on 3 years in October. And prior to that, I was at SurveyMonkey in a demand gen role, so really more focused on new logo with a little bit of customer, but this is solely customer, so it's a little bit of a new motion for me as well. We've kind of been we've built the foundation over the last year and a half or so, and then the other year and a half we've just been trying to scale it and so what I'm learning being a part of this community is um, this role is not as common, but is becoming more common. And so in speaking with, folks in the community, I think we're all trying to still figure it out a little bit. Yeah, we started, I think like about a year ago, Rachel Ward, who's in the community, had kind of an expansion meetup. It was a very small group that she was running around expansion and life cycle. And then that kind of fell off the radar. And then I kind of kicked off a small group that we, meet monthly. And Mary was very kind and invited me to this summer series of masterminds, which is kind of an intimidating word, Mary, because I wouldn't consider myself a mastermind at any of this. So anyways, usually the format is very casual. It's a conversation. I don't have a presentation or anything prepared. I think if we have enough conversation about a specific topic, maybe for the next month, we can focus a little bit more or dig in a little bit more, depending on how everyone feels. But as of now, we have a pretty small group, so I think we could keep it pretty casual. Are there any challenges or questions that anybody has that we want to kick off with and kind of go around the room and talk through it? We could start there. If not, I have a couple of points that, ideas of things that maybe spur conversation. So anyone have anything kind of burning or any kind of um, ideas or questions or challenges that they're facing currently when it comes to expansion? So we can maybe start there.
I mean, I
I
can
will.
start. Oh,
Oh, okay. Is that
hi.
Kyle?
Yeah, that's Kyle. Hi.
Hi,
I can,
Kyle.
hi, I could start. So I just started my role about like 4 months ago and still learning and growing in this role, right? I'm one of literally one. So, um,
Sounds
so
about
from,
right.
yeah, so from an expansion perspective, there's a lot of different, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have been feeling this in your roles too, but there's a lot of different tugs and pulls depending on which departments are looking for or have vested interest in expansion and add-ons, right? And so I work really closely with our customer success team, but then I also work with our account management team. And it is really interesting because they are also in this kind of weird space where the customer handoff is like, I mean, CS is supposed to be support, but they still kind of have that account management vibe. But then the account managers are more consultative and like they have a vested interest in expansion, but they don't want to sell it. Like it's just like a lot of weirdness. So right now, what I have been doing, and I would love to hear other people's thoughts, but what I've been doing is working on a campaign where there's like an expansion calendar. So I work in higher education and thinking about like what subject matter makes the most sense throughout the rest of the year, and then maybe just creating like a template of some sort that's like a campaign for our account managers to send to customers to try to get them thinking about other features or things that they could do to expand the product, and then possibly working on a sequence through HubSpot for our development associates to send out like more of a sales drive around it. But I'm not really seeing, and it's only been 2 months, but I'm not seeing So that actually works. And so I'm just interested to know anybody else on the call that may have, seen something like this before in this kind of space and has other proven examples of what could possibly be done to get the ball rolling.
I have a question for you. So when you say it's not working, is it because CS or sales isn't adopting the campaign and like participating and like engaging with the customers, or is it because you're not seeing any like conversions happening?
Yeah, it's more of a passive aggressive approach to your first question, right? Like, so quote unquote adopt it, but it is really just cold emails at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Like, they're not progressively or actively pursuing conversations with the customers. They are relying heavily on these HubSpot sequences, which aren't really seeing huge conversions, right? Because they're just cold emails at the end of the day. So, I have all these ideas of what we could do that requires a lot more, action or, definitely more aggression. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts.
Yeah, does anyone else have anything to add? I'm happy to jump in, but I don't want to be the only one talking.
Just is, I mean, what does the enablement to those teams look like? It
Mhm.
was my first question. What are you doing? How much are you getting them their buy-in? Number one, and number two, educating them so that they have language to really support the campaigns. I
Mhm.
my experience, that's a really important piece.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've run into the similar scenarios where we're trying to ask account managers to outreach to customers around, specific product launches, et cetera. And I think enablement is a really big part of it, to your point, Sheila, like just helping them understand what the goals are for I don't know, Kyle, if you own a pipeline target, but I think that is also a great way to get buy-in is if you do have a pipeline target and it's shared with the sales team or the CS team for that matter, is kind of positioning it as we're building this pipeline together. It's a business objective as well, right? And so kind of laddering that up to the broader business goals and then, making sure that they understand that this isn't something you're just asking them to do for the sake of asking them to do or telling them what to do, but it's more of a effort to work together collectively to build that pipeline with customers. I think in terms of tracking like the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking about the HubSpot sequences and not seeing conversion rates is are you targeting the right subset of customers, right? So are they in a situation where they are ripe to add on additional products? Like, do you have any kind of data or signals that might allude to like, okay, this customer's been a customer for X amount of months or years, and they've been very engaged in utilizing this existing product. Therefore, they could be, really ready to add on, or any other kind of like product signals or data that you might have that helps you kind of narrow in that targeting a little bit more.
Yeah, it is very elementary right now. Our HubSpot data is not the cleanest, I will be honest. And then on top of that, the teams are not all on HubSpot, right? So like HubSpot is
Mm.
being used by marketing and sales for the most part. And then our CS and account management team uses Vitally, which is a way more robust system that I personally like using because then I get to see the deal sizes. I get to see how often they're talking to the customer, how, what the last conversation was, like, if they gave us a good NPS score, like, so
Yeah.
there is a lot of manual aspect to it, which is not a problem. But I think to your point, something that we're probably missing that I currently don't see, and of course, it's probably going to be on me to build, is a pipeline target that makes sense. And Two, being able to talk about that customer journey to say, like, what are the trigger points that
Mhm.
make the most sense? So even if we do have, let's say, 133 customers that we can target, out of that 133, maybe only 20 of them are ripe for the picking right now. And I don't think
Yeah.
that we are being as strategic with that yet. It literally is, Kyle, here's 133 customers. Give that to account management so that they can go through it and tell us who to reach out to and then create the template so we can reach out to them. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I get it. I mean, we're in the similar situation. I mean, I think we have so much data, but it's connecting all the data. We use Vitally as well on the customer success side. And to your point, it has a ton of robust data. HubSpot we use for marketing, and then our AMs and sales use Outreach. So we've got a lot of like ways to communicate with customers, a lot of different places where data exists, like Salesforce. So Salesforce talks to HubSpot. Vitally talks to Salesforce. So if you guys use Salesforce, I think if you're able to get that Vitally information into Salesforce, it's easier to then map that back to HubSpot as well. So then you can do a little bit more of a targeted approach based on, to your point, what you just said of those 130, which of the, subset of customers are kind of ripe to
Yeah.
buy.
And I'm going to say, Circle of Trust, we do not have Salesforce or any other CRM other than HubSpot. So.
Okay, well, HubSpot has a CRM, so I think it's a fine CRM, especially with depending on the size of your company. So, and it's kind of nice if you're using HubSpot CRM and HubSpot marketing automation, because then you're able to kind of pull all of that data together. So yeah, I think I've worked
Yeah.
at I've worked with clients in the past that have had HubSpot CRM, and that was many years ago, and even back then it seemed to work pretty good.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because right now my personal opinion is that it could be better, but
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no Salesforce, that's for sure. But Salesforce is super complicated too, right? Like everyone's Salesforce instance is very, very, very different.
yeah, no, it's fair.
Um, but yeah. Awesome. Anything else? Let's see. Hi, Stephanie, welcome. We're just going around the room and everyone's kind of putting their questions either in the chat or you bringing up anything that they want to talk about. Okay, Laura, you mentioned ABM. Want to learn more a little bit about ABM. What exactly are you wanting to, is there anything specific about account-based marketing that we can chat
Yeah.
about?
So we use 6sense for new lead generation. We don't have a super crazy huge customer base. There's only like about 150 different logos globally, which is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to Kyle when she's like, 136 customers that could fit. And then, if you're targeting 20, I was like, oh, that's my entire customer base. So that was very funny to like hear the difference. But like there's things that we know for a new logo, that are going to be the triggers that 6sense is going to pick up. I'm trying to figure out what are some of those triggers in our current customer base that I could be using 6sense or other tools to identify those items. I'm kind of watching this chat go back and forth about how Salesforce data is only as good as the information put into it. That is something that we struggle with a lot. There's still a lot of tribal knowledge with our existing sales staff, let alone our CS staff. So that is just a huge hurdle. We're a mostly remote company, so it's really difficult to enforce some of those best practices.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out like, all right, if I can't get around getting people into Salesforce, what are some of the other tools I can use to potentially identify additional opportunities? Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. So you're saying that your customers are not in Salesforce at the moment. So you're trying to figure out what's a good way to target them outside of
No, they're in
6sense?
Salesforce. We're just not,
Okay.
we're not like, we're not documenting interactions.
Got it. Yeah. So I think because you have such a small customer base, I don't really, I mean, this is just my opinion. I think there could be someone out there that thinks very differently. Sixth Sense is, we have Sixth Sense as well. So we use Sixth Sense on the new logo side and on the customer side. And if you're familiar with Sixth Sense, they have all these like buying stages that especially for new logo, you can target people that are, in different buying stages based on where they are, right? Awareness, consideration, decision. For customers, because it's pulling in, so our Sixth Sense platform or instance is set up looking at our customer data. So they're already existing customers, right? To understand, to put together the model of what the buying stages are, right? So the buying stages for us are not very relevant for customer, right? Because everyone's basically in decision or purchase. So what we are using is keyword intent. So you can upload a lot of different keywords into Sixth Sense based on competitor keywords, keywords around, if you're trying to sell additional products and services. And so on the customer marketing side, we leverage that intent to then layer on as a piece of targeting. Because your customer base is a bit smaller, I would just use I mean, again, it depends on if you're trying, like what your strategy is, if you're trying to target that entire customer base. But being able to kind of similar to what we were talking about with Kyle is like segmenting that customer base on like based on like, okay, are they ready to be introduced to our additional products or solutions? And so because it's such a small list, like I would experiment with email and also LinkedIn ads. I feel like for a smaller group, you can get a little bit more personalized at scale. And you actually have a lot of opportunity to get creative with some one-to-one types of content, like one pagers that's like customized to them without even having to like go through a very large tool like Sixth Sense. I've done that in the past where we've just been really scrappy and had a list of accounts on the new logo side that we wanted to go after. And we created, it was a set of 100 accounts. We created like one-to-one at scale kind of, content or images that were personalized to that account. We had the sales team outreach to those accounts. The open rates for those emails were amazing because it was very personal to that account. And then we would target them with InMail and do more awareness advertising to surround those accounts. And then we would invite them to intimate like roundtable events. So I think you can do it kind of in a like more scrappier way. I mean, of course, Sixth Sense is a great tool. I find that for us right now, we're in the process of renewing, and so we might get a lot of other bells and whistles. So I might come back and tell you otherwise that we're doing all this amazing stuff. But as of now, like we're only really using the intent piece, the keyword intent piece, which is definitely a helpful subset of information. But I would say because your account list is so small, I think you can do things. I think have it be a little bit more custom and tailored to those accounts. I don't know if that answers your question or if it's helpful at all, but that's just my thought.
Yeah,
so
no,
far.
definitely. Having the keyword intent is definitely something that I need to explore. I've kind of ignored it, to be completely honest, Sixth Sense, and I've done a lot of manual work.
Sure. Yeah, and
So
I think again, like because you have 100 or so accounts, like the keyword intent is great. It gives you a little bit of insight, like if they're searching for a specific product or solution, and you could even tailor your content in that way. But because it's such a small, and I think you should definitely explore it and upload the keywords that are relevant. But again, because it's such a small list, I think you can even go outside of Sixth Sense and try to target. But yeah, let me know how it goes, and we can keep talking ABM. I've done many ABM pilots at my current role, and we're I would say as an organization we're still in kind of like we're like between the crawl and walk. If we're not quite walking, we're getting there. In some ways that in some areas we're at the walk. So yeah, it's always a work in progress.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else have anything that they want to chat through? This is a very open discussion with not a lot of structure. So please feel free to bring up anything, any challenges, any questions, anything you want to explore, get other people's thoughts on.
I have something.
Sure.
First of all, this is, I think, my third session this week, and I don't know how I missed these before. I am in love with these sessions. So you all are my
Awesome.
people. Thank you.
Great.
Is anybody here part of any regional events? And we started an event. We are 3 companies that have merged and become one company. And so people still don't really know who our full company is. So we're trying to do these regional events, and our sales and our customer success don't have great relationship and partnerships with their customers. I'm trying to build on that, and I keep telling them, use me as a tool, in your toolkit to help with that piece of it. So we started thinking, well, maybe we should do these regional events, and we called them Knowledge and Network. So it was a little bit about our company, it's networking with others that are using our products, it's networking with some folks here. And so we decided to try it in Dallas because that seemed to be where our largest, or country, nationwide, countrywide. And so we tried it in Dallas because that's where we have the largest concentration of people. And we ended up with 0 registrations. And so we ended up having to postpone the event. The event was supposed to be in August. We just made that determination this week to postpone. So I'm just wondering if anybody on the call has any helpful, stories, tips of how to really excite the customers to want to go to something like that. So it was myself reaching out, it was customer success, and it was sales reaching out, asking them to come. I think our agenda probably was, I don't know, perhaps not what they were looking for. Maybe we should have made it more product centric versus, having it be, hey, this is our big FinThrive picture, our big picture. But anyways, I'm just wondering if anybody has any tips, tricks, thoughts.
So one thing for us that has been really successful is whenever we can pair a customer event with like a trade show, where people are already there, that has been super helpful. Having a level of exclusivity has been really, really helpful. Kind of listening to, you have 3 companies coming together. If you have one amazing customer from each organization, be like, come and learn from like these incredible users, then it becomes more of a peer-to-peer versus the organization putting it on. I'm finding, especially for my customer base, they want to learn from each other. We can tell them anything we want them to hear, but that's not how our customers are going to learn it. And that's becomes very self-serving, right? Like, this is a fight I have with my lead team all the time, where I'm like, we can't just tell the customers what we want them to know. We actually have to give them information that they need to know. And there's a very different perspective on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Could I just ask one question about that? Is when you've done it with a trade show, do you do it before or after?
We will potentially do it during the show. So we might host like a happy hour, so one of our biggest industry events is actually 4 days. So we know no one's going to be around that 4th day. So we're never, ever going to do something on Wednesday night because people are flying out.
Right.
So typically we'll either try to do it the night before the show opens when people are coming in. And it's like, hey, we're having happy hour from 6 to 8. Come learn. People might fly in a little earlier, or we try to do it that Monday because Tuesday is always slammed, right? People are going to be walking the exhibit floor. Tuesday night, it tends to be like some of those bigger vendors, like we're not competing with those bigger vendors. And then Wednesday, people are starting to trickle out. So we try to do it Monday or Tuesday.
Thank you.
I have some feedback. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Tiffany.
So We have, so I work with the events team closely, and they were doing what we call like boot camps or road shows, right, in strategic cities. So, something in Northern Cal, somewhere in Texas, and then probably Chicago or New York. And there was a show in LA that was a complete disaster. And I had just told them, like, don't do it. Like, look at the registration, look at everything. And there's this one customer that we love, but we keep using her all the time to
Yep.
speak at shows. You need to tie it with product. People are interested in product because I managed a community, I spearheaded it, launched it, implemented all of it. They want to know what's happening on the product roadmap. That's what generally customers are interested in. What's happening, what's on the roadmap, what's going to be launched in 3 months, 6 months, a year. Is this even on the radar? Because there's probably hundreds of features that people want, right? Or request. So tying it with product people, having a product person speak at your event is really key. And it's a big draw for, I think, any type of, software tech product is the way to go. And don't force something, because literally there was a partner that was there and it was just all us, all Maven Link people. And it was a
Yeah,
disaster.
and
It's
that's
better to
exactly why
cancel.
we decided to postpone it, because there was one customer that was probably going to register, and we were like, when you invite
Right.
one is like, yeah, maybe I can make it.
And they didn't listen. And so you got to look at the numbers you got, and you shouldn't force it, because if it's not going to be successful, it's, yeah, it's just data doesn't lie, and, experience and tying it with product. But sometimes that's what happens, because
Yeah,
I was in a
thank
different
you.
department. You're welcome.
Also, the
Yeah,
calendar. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't
oh,
mean
I
to
was
talk
just
over
gonna say,
anybody.
like, the product piece is key. I agree, because I will say from my experience at Culture Amp, our product update webinars that we do quarterly, and we also do these quarterly lunch and learn demos, which are basically product. They create in quarter pipeline. And so those have been like customers, to Tiffany's point, want to see it. And then I also loved Laura's point of making it exclusive, tying it to a broader event, having execs from your company and customers, like being able to network with an existing customer and an exec that might be a thought leader in the space, or something similar, is
Right.
always what's gonna draw folks to
Absolutely. It
the
can't just
event.
be all marketing. It
Yeah,
can't be all
exactly. Yeah.
help. Got to tie to product, and yeah, and a key, speaker, even if the VP of product talks for like a half an hour, if it's a local show, right? It's still the fact that he's there, and people get access or feel like they get access to product people, they will more than likely attend. And yeah, and there's topics. I'm like, here are the topics that people are interested in the community. I mean, we're getting it straight from the horse's mouth. Why are we not doing it? But yeah, sometimes people, they don't listen. It's like, well, here we go.
Right. And we had a speaker that was going to come in and speak, and we did have a couple of little product things, but I don't think in the agenda, I don't think we really specified the product. So I definitely hear you all on that. Thank you.
Sheila, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I
Sorry.
was just going to say, and I mean, always watch your calendar. I always think that August is everything shuts down.
I
There's
agree.
nobody and Dallas is I've had events somewhat fail there, where you're like inviting family members that happen to
Yeah.
sort of fill in the space. And so I think, if your client base, your customer base is really spread out, it can be hard. Certainly even here, my last employer, we had, 2 events in the Bay Area, because, San Francisco Bay Area, we had such a heavy, group that we had to do like a South Bay, and then, kind of a, San Francisco. And, it just, certainly New York is great. And, we did have a lot in kind of that Dallas Fort Worth, but they're really spread out. And it,
Yeah.
like watching all of that stuff is so hard for events.
And that was one
Yeah.
of the things as well, is because when we pulled it, I think we pulled like maybe, I think our zip code was maybe 200 miles or something from where the event was going to be. But what we didn't anticipate is we're healthcare tech. And so what we didn't anticipate was that the organization, the hospital, was there in that area, but the people, and we weren't paying for travel, but the people that we were inviting were, work remote and live in North Carolina and live here and live there. And we weren't paying for travel, and they didn't want to pay for travel. And so that was another piece of it. All right. I appreciate all those tips.
Nice. Mary, you added a chat and something in the chat. Speaking of events, how can events contribute to expansion goals? Have you used events to fuel expansion? Yes. Short answer. For us, events is actually one of the top channels. Well, let me go back. Actually, I should say hosted webinars. So hosted webinars, email, and are like the two, I would say, really big channels for pipeline creation. In terms of like sponsored events, like bigger trade show events, I haven't seen a lot of pipeline come from that unless we're doing kind of similar to what Laura was saying. So if you have, so we have kind of a, if you're doing like a customer event outside of like a larger conference, that's like more exclusive, we see some good engagement there. Or if you're doing, like we have a marquee event every year, that's virtual, but we create these forum events in different regions globally that are more customer focused. Prospects are invited, but it's really a customer event. And so we do see, again, it's about talking about product roadmap. It's talking about research that our people science team has come, has developed. It's bringing customers to talk about their experience using our platform. So I think those types of events, yes. But what we see like a lot of success with are hosted webinars. So our regional field teams are doing a lot of webinars every quarter across the globe. And customers attend those. They come to they consume most of the content we put out there. And we do see pipeline being created from those. But where I'm seeing like immediate pipeline impact is what I mentioned before, is like doing these quarterly product update webinars where they get to see new features and new releases. And then also what we're seeing a lot of success with is we're doing these like lunch and learn demos where they come and it's a very like quick 30-minute session, 10 minutes of content, basically trying to tie back like how, them using solution A can, like leveraging insights from solution A and how they can start to use solution B and C, and then going like into a deep dive demo. So I feel like those are, big kind of pipeline drivers for us.
Can I
Anyone
ask,
else?
how do you communicate to your customers about these quarterly roadmap or lunch and learns?
Yeah, so we send out emails. We do a 3-touch email. So 3 weeks prior, I think we start 3 to 4 weeks prior to the event in terms of sending out emails. We also get our account management team and our customer success teams to also send out emails to their customers, inviting them to it. And then we also do follow-up. So once the follow-up piece is key. So getting folks there to get registrations is one thing, which is I feel like is the easier part. The follow-up is really what is key, because you want to book meetings with these customers to talk about these new products or features. And so majority of the time it's our sales account management team that does the follow-up. And so we enable them on follow-up. So we'll go to team meetings, talk to sales, and say, we give them a heads up. So like if you're able to join like weekly meetings or bi-weekly, depending on the cadence of campaigns you're rolling out for customers, just always making sure that they have visibility into like what comms are going to customers, and then ensuring that if they're attending these events that they're following up with customers and really like asking to set up a meeting, because that's really what's gonna get those opportunities in the door.
Shetal. So I have a quick question. So
Sure.
when you initially launch the, because it's automated, we use HubSpot. We have an email person, and she sends, and then after that, is it like a generated email that is sent out of HubSpot and it says from Jen, like the CSM person, meaning the marketing team is executing that, or are they personally sending it from their domain?
They're personally sending it. So It's a really good question, because this is something I've wanted to automate from HubSpot, because let's be honest, like sales isn't going to always do these things, right? And it's
Right.
always, and I'm
We
like,
can
I'm trying
ask,
to,
but is it going to happen?
I'm like, this is being recorded, right? So I'm just gonna, gonna be diplomatic here. But yeah, it's hard, right? Sales has a ton of other priorities happening. They're trying to do a lot of different things. And so asking them to send invites and doing the follow-up is sometimes challenging. So to answer your question, sales is doing the outreach through outreach, the platform outreach.
Okay.
And then marketing is sending out emails through HubSpot. I would love to get to a point where and I think we can get there. I think you're reminding me to go explore this again, because the last time I explored it, it had to do with like, well, sometimes the account managers changed, and mapping that data into Salesforce, it could, not be correct because they might not own the account anymore. But I think what you're getting at is, do you send these invites from an actual person, quote unquote, like who's
Right.
tied to the account? And I would like to do that. So I'm going to go explore that again. So thank you for the reminder. But in the past, when I've explored it, it was like, oh, our data's not clean, so it might not work. So
Do
yeah,
you curate content for the CSM team too? Because I was hand feeding them everything. Like, here's an email I curated for this. I literally feed it to them. And it's like, can you just hit send now, please? Or something. And it's like going to then here's a portal of all the stuff that I've created. Because you get one CSM who doesn't have the other one. I'm like, here it is. It's shared. And I keep resharing it. Here it is in the Slack channel, right? Like it's all here from invites. You can just add your little blurb on the top since you have that special relationship. I don't, but yeah, it's it can be a lot of work for
it
literally
is.
pending.
It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to get. I mean, the way that we've been trying to get buy-in is we work with the account management leaders and the CS leaders. And, depending on the time of year and which team is more underwater, like we will ask CS, and depending on the event too, right? So for like our forum events, our CS team gets more involved and gets customers there. But for these like product update webinars and these lunch and learns, because they're so heavily focused on expansion, the sales team needs to do the invites and follow up. But yeah, it's a lot, I mean, technically we use outreach on the sales side. And so we create a template, and we have an outbound specialist who helps do this. And she makes it super easy, where she's like, here's the template, here's your report. You click the link and you mass sequence them, and it takes you literally 5 minutes to do. And it still doesn't get done sometimes. So,
Right.
Sometimes you have to kind of like create a shame report of like, oh, look, director, of your 10 a.m.s, only 3 of them have actually completed this task. And so, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hand holding. It's not, perfect, but that's where we're at right now.
We actually had an ABM person. I think we hired someone, and she was with us for 2.5, 3 years. And yeah, and she worked so hard. She was so smart and awesome. But at that moment, I could just see her like she's rolling her eyes. She's like pulling teeth. So we bought 6 Sense, and then at the end, I think we had it for a couple years, and then we got rid of it because we didn't feel like the data that they were giving us was accurate or anything like that. And it was super expensive. This is just my knowledge, right? I don't know. Everybody has different experiences. And then we actually did have sales ops for a short period of time, and that was it. That's all I remember of it. And then we got rid of 6 Sense because it's 3 years, and it was very expensive, and it wasn't that. I guess our ROI wasn't as awesome as we thought it would be, but that's just my feedback for anybody who's looking into it. I'm sure things have changed. It's been 5 years and stuff, so who knows what else is happening.
Were you guys using 6 Sense for customer only or new logo as well?
That's a good question, because he was demand gen, and I just know that, yeah, people are in that a lot. I mean, our ABM girl, Krisa, was in that a lot. And she was having literally weekly meetings, hand holding the BDR reps. I mean, everything. She put in a lot of
Sounds
work,
really familiar.
babied them to death and all that. And it was still like, yeah, she's no longer with the company, but yeah. So
yeah, 6sense is, I think it is a very expensive platform. And I think unless you have an established account-based motion, it's not worth it. And if you don't have buy-in from leadership, and if that's not the way that your organization is going to market, then you shouldn't buy it. But I think if the organization is aligned on this is how we're going to market, and on the new logo side and the customer side, but really, a lot of it's used usually for new logo, and I think there is a lot of opportunity to use it on the customer side, but in a different way. Yeah, it's definitely not worth the price point. So
right.
and
I used
you
Influitive to manage everything for
what's
customer
that?
side. I used Influitive to,
Oh
manage
yeah.
everything for on my side of it, like driving reviews for demand gen, doing all the stuff, use cases, case studies and so forth. So we kind of all work together with the email person, the AVM gal. Yeah,
Yeah.
like as much as we could. So
Rebecca, you asked if does anyone use SalesLoft? I'm not familiar with SalesLoft. I don't know if anyone else is.
Okay, yeah, so it's we're just starting to use it for our account managers, and what it does is I think it's sort of what I think Tiffany was saying. The goal's not a shame report. It is a look who's doing amazing things report, but
Yes, it's a
what
better
it
way of framing
will,
it.
the reason why we're using it is we can put cadences in there,
Yeah.
and we know who is following up. Like if we're going to do all this work from a marketing perspective to generate leads and CMQLs and all that, who are interested in other products, and we give them to the account managers, we want to hold them accountable for following up. And so
Yeah.
by putting the emails in SalesLoft, we can then see who is sending emails to whom. But we're just starting that. So I'm just wondering if anyone else has done that. It sounds like not.
Yes. We don't use SalesLoft. We use Outreach, and
Okay.
it's basically the same thing. It's you can create cadences, you can create templates. It can be pretty automated for the sales team, and then it does show like how many people have actually like sequenced their accounts using that sequence you've created. And so that's how we're able to pull and see if anyone's actually doing the outreach.
So I have another question for the group, if that's okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is forecasting for expansion. And in every other company and role I've been in before, I've always had a finance business partner who's taken on a lot of this, but I don't really have that here. So what I'm trying to figure out is, like probably many of you, we have our main product, right? Oh, Tiffany, do you mind going on mute? Because your typing is a little bit, thank you.
oh, sorry.
No, you're from. We've got our main product, right? So we've got the majority of our customers on our main product. Then we have 2 or 3 additional products that we have acquired over the years. And so I'm trying to get all of the people with our main product. We have it's a subscription bill. I work for ChargeBee, it's subscription billing. So most of our customers have our billing product. We also have a retention product. So if your customers are wanting to cancel, it says, wait, but you're going to lose all these great things. Are you sure you want to cancel? But hold on, we'll give you a discount offer, or you can put your subscription on pause or whatever. So we're trying to sell retention. So my question is, I have my TAM, right? So I know of existing customers, this is the group of accounts who meets the criteria because we have their billing, we know how many cancels they get. So if they have a certain number of cancels per month, right, they're our ICP for the retention product. So I have that number. And obviously over time it goes up and down as people churn and we add new customers, whatever. But when I'm thinking about the forecasting, what I'm trying to figure out is, on a monthly or quarterly basis, how do I think about how many of those people will convert? Like I can do the math and say we've got 1,000 people and X% will engage with us and X% will do a demo or a trial and talk to sales. But I'm curious if you all have done that. Like, how do you think about it again, like every month when basically your TAM is pretty well set and defined from your customer base? Does that question make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'm thinking it through because like, so it sounds like you've already know like what your conversion rates are going to be based on that TAM. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
we have some
benchmark?
yeah, I mean, we have some estimates based on the past, but either way, even if you make numbers up, right? So say you have 1,000 people, I'm not gonna do the math in my head, right? But 1,000 people and 50% of people engage with some of your content, and then of that, 50% of those people like started a trial, and of those people, so like whatever the percentages are, say you go from 1,000 to 100, right? Figuring out those percentages. Now you got 100. Is that 100 a month? Is that 100 a quarter? And how do you think about like what you can deliver every month and every quarter, knowing that a certain percentage of your TAM is going to be in
TAM is
market to
changing.
buy? I mean, the TAM doesn't change that much because again, like, yes, you're signing up new customers every month, but you're also churning every month. So I'm sort of assuming, within 5%, the TAM is going to stay the same. But I'm curious, I guess, how all of you forecast. Do you forecast or do you have a finance business partner? So when the team comes to you or your boss comes to you and says, total addressable market. Sorry, for anyone who doesn't know what a TAM. Okay, Rebecca, how much pipeline can you generate every quarter? I'm like, well, I have, again, simple math. I have 1,000 people. I think 100 people might buy, but then is that every month 100 people are going to buy? Is that every quarter? So just curious how the rest of you, if you do forecasting, how you do that.
We do forecasting. Our finance business partner does come up with the top, like it's like, here's your goal for the quarter, right? So here's your pipeline goal.
But if I don't have a big enough, I don't know how you hit.
So and there's that's a whole other exercise that they pull in a lot of different things that some of it I understand, some of it I'm like, wait, how did you come up with this goal? Based on kind of like averages over the past 6 months, et cetera. But like from a forecasting perspective, yes, we do forecast to that goal. So we have a goal and we say, okay, we need to hit this pipeline goal, and how are we going to hit it based on the programs that we're planning and knowing based on historicals. Like we ran, these lunch and learn demos that I mentioned earlier, we know on average they create X amount of opportunities every quarter. And so I'm forecasting by actual like programs and campaigns. And within those programs and campaigns, I'm doing it like through channels, knowing like, okay, email is a big channel and webinars are a big channel. So I know that we're going to generate a certain amount of opportunities, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, but then, so are you confident if you run those programs every quarter, you delivering the same number of leads every quarter? Because again, if you only have 1,000 customers who are likely, who meet the criteria for that additional product, assuming you do a good job, that audience is going down, and those are your, best, like sort of the low-hanging fruit, and the people left are maybe less likely to buy. So I'm just trying to think about like how to think about it over time. And again, we do get new customers every month, obviously.
I know exactly what you're saying. I don't really know.
Okay.
I think, well, we forecast, so we do assume that that's going to happen every quarter.
Okay.
To your point, knowing that new customers are coming in and we're able to kind of like get a fresh new set of customers to market to and expand to. So yes, we make that assumption. The other kind of tricky part is though our goals go up every quarter.
Right. And I don't know about you, but we're actually doing a better job. Our new logo sales is doing a better job attaching. So 25% of like new logo sales, again, making up numbers, are selling multiple things. So our TAM actually theoretically,
I see what you're saying,
goes down. So potentially goes down because I'm not filling the bucket every month with people who are going to meet the same criteria because they already got the best ones in new look, but the numbers go up. So I'm wondering if anyone else, how you're managing that.
That's pretty interesting. I get what you're saying. I don't know the answer to that, how to manage that, other than like my experience is really like, it's more like, this is your number and you have to hit it. But yeah, I think having that kind of analysis done on like the attach rate is really important, because to your point, if the new logo sellers are coming and selling multiple products, that does reduce your TAM technically. So it's like you have a smaller bucket to go after. That's a really good question. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that. Yeah, I've asked similar questions to our finance team of like, hey, these numbers keep going up, but like, does the new logo side of the business actually like support these goals? And it's a mix of both. It's a mix of, I think, probably triangulating the data of like new logo, our existing TAM, business goals, right? So it's a combination of three, but yeah, I've only forecasted based on the goals that are provided and like different programs and channels to help us get to that goal in partnership with other teams like the regional teams and like our digital teams as well.
And so one other question, do you have a pipeline goal or do you have, it's like what, okay, so you have a pipeline and
Yeah.
a goal, okay.
Yeah, so we have a pipeline goal, and that's kind of what we track towards where, yeah, so we're not paying too much attention to like MQLs or anything like that. And from a goal perspective, obviously we're paying attention to customers coming in and saying they want to talk to sales, but yes, we have a pipeline goal every quarter. And we try to plan our bigger programs like 2 quarters in advance, knowing that, there's going to be growth each quarter, but yeah, that's we go. We have 5 minutes left. This has been a very nice discussion. I'm loving this. Any other last minute thoughts or questions or
I first of all really appreciate this conversation for sure, especially as again, team of one, very new to this role. So thank you so much. I kind of want to just double back a little bit because I missed part of the conversation. I got again pulled into some random phone call. And I know that somebody put in the chat about like events, right? And how it contributes to expansion goals. One of the things that we are working on right now are like the webinars. And like I have 2 different tasks on my plate. One of them is a marketing specific webinar that is more like best practice, leveraging customer stories or success stories. And then the other webinars are supposed to be like drill downs of that for like customer learning specifically. So I feel like there is an opportunity to like identify customers that are coming to these and possibly looking to see like which ones they're more interested in. But has anybody used webinars for targeting expansion specifically, or is that kind of like a no-no?
yeah, I mean, webinars are a big part of our expansion strategy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so the regional teams, they plan quarterly webinars, and if the theme of the webinar is, so we're an HR software company, most of our companies are on our engagement product, but if they're planning a webinar that's around our performance management or development solutions, that's absolutely an opportunity for sales to kind of follow up with anyone who's attending of that webinar to start a conversation with them, or you can put them into nurtures with content around those products. So that's one kind of way that we are prioritizing, follow up for those events because there is an expansion opportunity. The other one is doing more product focused webinars for customers specifically, because that is another area that customers are really interested in. They want to know about products. They want to know about product roadmap, want to know about features. And so those are areas are types of webinars that we see quite a bit of success in terms of building expansion pipeline. So short answer is yes, webinars are definitely a good strategy to drive expansion.
And just one little thing I just wanted to add also, Kyle, is I think yesterday I was on one of these masterminds on events, and there was someone in there, and Mary, you would probably remember this, that they were doing like virtual meetups on a monthly basis, and they were very product focused. And, like, I mean, they were having a lot of traction with them because they were so product focused, and they had kind of captains. They used breakout rooms. They had captains in those rooms that were knowledgeable. And I just think that that kind of thing, you've got the experts in there with the customers. And then, I mean, when you're kind of educating them about what's possible, through additional product, or whatever the new functionality would be, I think that sounded like they were getting a great deal of traction on that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, a
That
lot
was
of effort,
Alex
but
Eckerd. I think it was Alex Eckerd.
Awesome. Well, this was lovely. So thank you everyone for your time and for adding to the discussion. I also have some takeaways that I'm gonna go explore from this. So would love to keep chatting. I know so I have this monthly, I think, Mary, I guess, is it gonna stay on your Luma or your
Yeah, I can
the
stay
meetup?
right
Okay,
on there.
cool. Awesome. Okay.
Thank you for doing this. This was really great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I
Thanks
hope
so
everyone
much.
has a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.